It's with a heavy heart that I am in front of you now to make this video. Kind of my last words. It's really unfortunate that I have to make this video. You see, I am a victim of covert harassment and electronic harassment and gang stalking. I'm what's called a targeted individual. There are thousands of targeted individuals in the United States of America, and we unfortunately are subjected to some pretty heinous treatment, which I'll detail in this video. You can find out more about what a targeted individual is simply by Googling or YouTubing the words targeted individual or gang stalking, and you'll see the videos and postings and articles and stuff like that about what a targeted individual is. And on YouTube, you'll actually hear the stories of other targeted individuals, the videos that they've posted about what their experiences are. They won't be that different from what you hear from me today. I think mine might be a little bit more comprehensive in explaining exactly what a targeted individual is and what a targeted individual experiences on a day-to-day basis. So I'll just go straight to it. Talking about gang stalking in general, which is what a targeted individual experiences. The goal of gang stalking is literally to drive a targeted individual crazy. It's a very comprehensive program, and sadly it's a government program. Its roots are in programs known as MK Ultra and COINTELPRO, which should have been eliminated, but unfortunately they are still around. They're not only still around, but they're actually far more comprehensive and more detailed than they were even when those programs were popular. But like I said, the goal is literally to isolate the person, make them destitute and financially unstable to the point where they can't take care of themselves. Many targeted individuals live in homeless shelters and on the street. And they employ various tactics to accomplish their goal of destroying targeted individuals. The most common experience that you'll hear is, and why the term gang stalking comes about, is because they'll have people follow you around. Whenever you go into public places, like if you're driving on the street, people in cars will follow you around, and they make themselves very known that they're there and they are present and they are looking at you. If you go any public place, like going shopping or anything like that, they'll follow you around the stores. And as sick as this may sound, I've even had stalkers follow me into church while I was in Las Cruces and in Houston. I've had stalkers follow me into church to harass me. That's how sick this program is. It's literally to keep the targeted individual agitated, stressed out, and never really have their mind at ease, to make them paranoid. They employ isolation tactics. They basically try to convince your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers that they should be keeping an eye on you for whatever reason. They do this. Some of them they pay off to keep an eye on you, to look at you in strange ways. They do this through blackmail. They'll blackmail individuals into stalking you and harassing you, looking at you. And they do this to people who actually are real criminals. Targeted individuals are typically just regular Joes, everyday, ordinary, innocent people. And somehow we've ended up on this ungodly, evil list of people who have their lives literally destroyed on a day-to-day basis. Another way that they coerce everyday citizens into participating in harassing targeted individuals is that they They'll tell them lies like you're under investigation for something, or you've committed a crime, or they should keep an eye on you because you're crazy. And as you can see right now, I am totally not crazy. I'm completely sane, but they've employed these tactics against me as well to try to make me appear to be a crazy person. To the targeted individual who hasn't yet discovered that they're a targeted individual, or doesn't know exactly what it means to be a targeted individual, this experience can be pretty troubling, because all you do is you just notice that people are paying extra attention to you. People are staring at you in strange ways and stuff like that, and that can make you very uneasy naturally. There's a saying that people do anything for money, and basically if they're doing it not only for money but also based on a lie, it's weird, because they get this sort of altruistic thing because they think they're helping to prevent crime or something like that, so they have that altruistic feeling, plus they get money for it. But what they don't realize is that many of those people are just participating in an evil, ungodly program that's designed to debilitate people like me, everyday ordinary citizens. And to be honest, it's just not fair, because we didn't do anything to end up on this list. Eventually, due to the targeted individual's own fear and apprehension, as well as his friends, coworkers' apprehension that's been given to them in a false way, the targeted individual starts to withdraw and isolates himself, and he's alone, and that basically helps them to continue with the gang stalking program, which is designed to destroy them. So I'm going to talk about some of the particular gang stalking methods that are utilized to harass targeted individuals. The first one I want to talk about is called anchoring. Basically, with anchoring, and this will sound very strange the way I explain this, but you have what's called control panel stalkers. These are the people who are basically in an operations center, monitoring all the targeted individuals throughout the United States of America. And then you have street level stalkers. These are the people that they actually employ to interact with targeted individuals on a day-to-day basis. But with anchoring, they will set up situations and scenarios to try to convince the targeted individual that a particular person or a particular group is the one that's actually harassing them. For example, I've heard targeted individuals say that they thought everybody in the fire department was out to get them. In my particular scenario, what they do for me is most of the people who harass me and interact with me are wearing sunglasses and stuff like that, very, very dark sunglasses, and they'll make their presence very known. They'll look at me in weird ways to try to make me paranoid or arouse fear in me or something like that. But also, one thing that they did with me is try to convince me that my neighbors were the ones who were actually harassing me. When I would be in my apartment at night, and they were very successful at this for about 2 months. 2 months before I realized that I was actually a targeted individual, or what a targeted individual even was. I would hear voices in my apartment explaining what it was that I was doing. If I went to the kitchen, they'd say stuff, oh, he's headed to the kitchen now. Or if I went to the bathroom, they're like, oh, he's headed to the bathroom. And this sounds bad, but one particular time I didn't wash my hands. They're like, look at him. He doesn't even wash his hands when I was in the bathroom after I used the bathroom. This is the type of stuff that they do. And because I'm hearing these voices, I'm thinking, oh my God, somebody is listening to me. And naturally, you think that it's the person closest to you. So I thought it was my neighbors above me, that somehow they had installed a video camera in my apartment. And I realized that later that wasn't the case, but I'll explain in the video later exactly what that is that gave me that false belief. The next method they use that I want to talk about is called brighting. Brighting can be very irritating, and it sounds just like what it is. When you're driving on the road, for example, a person may flash their bright lights in your face. Like when you're oncoming traffic, people will have their bright lights on you. Now, it's not unusual, obviously, to experience somebody with their bright lights on you. I mean, it's not unusual at all. People often forget, that their brights are on when they're riding at night. And then, you just give them that quick flash, and they'll flick it back to the regular dimmer lights. But with brighting, if you give them that quick flash, they don't actually click it back to the regular dimmer lights. They'll keep on the bright lights. And this is not something, it's not like a one-time occurrence. This, you expect to have something like that on a long trip happen once or twice just because that's what happens. It's happenstance. But this will happen like 10 times in one short trip. Not only with oncoming traffic, but people will come up behind you, and basically when they're tailgating you and they have their bright lights on, individuals will come up really quickly and pass you, and then as they're passing you, they'll flick their bright lights on so they're shining your side mirrors and stuff like that. That's brighting. Brighting takes another form as well. When you're in your home, individuals will shine bright lights into the windows of your home. For example, they might pull up in your driveway and shine very bright lights into the door or windows of your home. It's not unusual for that type of thing to happen. People do get lost and have to turn around, but this will happen several times in one night. And basically, that's just their way of letting you know that they are present and that it's a way of harassment, that, your mind can never really be at ease. Your mind you'll always be paranoid because, there's always somebody there to interact with you in these strange ways to arouse fear in you and not let your mind be at ease. The next method that they utilize in gang stalking is what I would call a noise campaign. This can be just as irritating as brighting. Basically, the targeted individual is subjected to a constant bout of noise that is never ending. It's designed to keep the targeted individual on edge. It happens at all times of the day, and it's exacerbated at nighttime. I mean, it's really, really bad at nighttime because the goal is to keep the targeted individual from getting sleep, which is what human beings need. We naturally need sleep for our body's natural restoration. So the goal is to prevent you from sleeping so that you'll be anxious and agitated and edgy. And basically just your stress hormones will be through the roof, and which only exacerbates those feelings of paranoia and fear and stuff like that. So how do they do that? Again, the particular ways that I've experienced and that I've heard other targeted individuals talk about is like there'll be loud music all around them, like from their neighbors and stuff like that. Cars will be passing by constantly at very rapid paces, making noises and blowing their car horns and stuff like that. Your neighbors around you will be screaming and talking loudly. This can be really irritating if you live in an apartment complex. And the craziest tactic that they use to generate noise is they do it through machine-generated sounds, things like fake dogs barking or chickens crowing and duck calls and stuff like that. Just really strange things to just constantly generate noise so that you can never really get relaxation as a targeted individual. And like I said, they accomplish these tasks by paying your neighbors, lying to your neighbors, telling them you did something wrong, and so their neighbors actually think that they're helping and stopping a crime or some sort of investigation or something like that. Or they blackmail your neighbors if your neighbors actually have done something wrong or something like that. My personal experiences with a noise campaign, I want to talk about a little bit about that. The one I want to talk about most is the one that made me actually realize that I was a targeted individual. After experiencing so much harassment in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where I was living at the time for a while, I decided I was going to go to Houston just to get away for a while. I had several friends in Houston. That's where I used to live and where I used to work. So I went to go visit my friend Kimberly Snag, and while I was in Houston, I was staying in Kimberly's mom's house, which is in 5th Ward, a real quiet neighborhood, mostly old people, residential area. But while I was there, every 10 minutes, cars would be flying down the street, just flying down the street, making at rapid paces, making loud noise. And about every 30 minutes or so, I would hear car horns, like people blowing their car horns. And the goal was obviously to keep me under the noise campaign and not really get to relax. And the strangest thing, and this is the thing that really piqued piqued my mind to, hey, there's something more going on here. This is kind of crazy. Behind the house, I kept hearing this strange cock-a-doodle-doo noise of like a rooster. But it was the same cock-a-doodle-doo without any variation to it. So it was obvious that it was like a machine and it wasn't a real rooster. And on top of that, it was like from 2 to, it was nonstop, but I noticed it when it was like from 2 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon, which is kind of atypical for a rooster to be crowing nonstop from 2 to 4 in the afternoon. And this went on for several days because I stayed in Kim's mom's house for like 3 or 4 days, and it went on for several days, the cars and the rooster and all that. And that's the thing that really made me realize, you know what, something more is going on here than, you know, me just having these bad experiences in like Las Cruces. And when I was in Houston, people continue to follow me around in like stores and stuff like that too, and really make their presence felt. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. Some of the other noise campaign experiences I had when I was in Las Cruces, my neighbors were constantly making noise. I lived in this apartment complex, Quail Ridge Apartments, for a year and a half, and I never had any issues with noise. But in the last few months that I was there, it was constantly noise around me. My neighbors were constantly playing loud music, constantly talking loud and screaming and stuff like that. And one particular night, the neighbor above me was playing music really, really loud. So I didn't want to be that neighbor that complains on everyone. So what I did was I just put some earplugs in my ear and tried to nestle in and go to sleep. Shortly after I put these earplugs in my ear, my bed actually is on the wall adjoining one of my neighbors, the neighbor that was behind me. And the headboard is literally on that adjoining wall. As soon as I put the earplugs in, I started hearing these extremely loud sex sounds. Now, mind you, I've lived here a year and a half. I've slept in my apartment a year and a half, and I've never heard any noises come out of this apartment, sex or otherwise. But on this particular night, well, I'd heard for those few months, I heard music and stuff like that, and loud talking and screaming. But on this particular night, as soon as I put the earplugs in, these loud sex sounds just started coming out of nowhere. So that kind of let me know, okay, this is part of this stupid harassment that I'm experiencing. And another noise campaign experience I had, this one is particularly bad and particularly devastating because it's actually from a family friend, and that was very hurtful. But I was staying at my friend Monica Johnson's home with her family. And I think I know why they participated in my stalking. And I hate to spill the beans on anybody, but, you know, this is kind of my last words. But her husband, Marshall, smokes marijuana. And so I think, honestly, that they were blackmailed into participating in my stalking on some sort of fear that he would, you know, face criminal prosecution for marijuana possession or marijuana use or something like that. But what happened while I was there is that, and this wasn't the first time I stayed in their home, by the way, so this is completely atypical. But while I was there, everyone was talking really, really loudly and screaming at all hours of the night. There were 3 TVs on in the house, and they were on full blast, just blaring. I was trying to sleep on the couch in the living room, and Monica and Marshall's bedroom is actually downstairs. They had their TV on in the bedroom, and it was just blaring on full blast. And then at about 3 a.m., Monica came out the room, walked outside, and then came back in, slammed the door, was screaming at the top of her lungs about how her daughter Brittany's red SUV had just been repossessed because she missed a payment. And it was so strange because I don't know how she could have heard from where she was at in the house any car come up and any tow truck come up to repossess the car, because I actually would have had a better vantage point, and there's nothing wrong with my hearing, to have heard a tow truck. I heard no tow truck whatsoever, but what I did hear was her making all sorts of noise, basically to try to keep me from relaxing and getting any sleep that particular night. The next harassment technique I want to talk about is ghosting. And this isn't actually one that I experienced, but other targeted individuals, when you watch their videos, they'll talk about it, and you'll get to hear their stories. But basically, this is where they will rearrange a targeted individual's personal belongings. For example, might break into their house, which in and of itself is wrong. They'll break into their house, rearrange their furniture, or rearrange things on their desk or in their bedroom. They'll actually rearrange lawn ornaments and stuff like that are in the yard. So when the targeted individual returns back to their home, they see that things are sort of out of place. And that obviously arouses fear and paranoia and apprehension and stuff like that to further exacerbate this evil, ungodly program that they participate in to try to harass targeted individuals. The next technique I want to talk about is called mimicry. This involves when a targeted individual encounters one of their stalkers, the stalker will actually do everything literally do everything, the same movements, same motions that the targeted individual does. So it's very irritating, and these particular stalkers make their presence very known. I had this experience once when I was in Weewaw at the Easy Serve gas station. I pulled into the gas station to pump some gas, and when I pulled in, this guy comes from behind the pump next to me, and he has on these dark sunglasses, really dark sunglasses, which is my particular stimuli that they've used in my stalking experience. But these really dark sunglasses, he looks at me, and then he starts waving his hands and moving his head to try to basically get my attention. Hey, I'm here. And I ignored him at first, and then I went to go start washing my window. So I'm washing the front window. As I start washing my front window, he starts washing his front window, and he's looking at me while he's washing his front window with these dark shades on. So then I move to the side window, and he moves to the side window, and he's looking at me with these dark shades on and washing his window. And it was really creepy. Everything I did, he did. But, I ignored it. That's just one of the things that targeted individuals experience, is this kind of harassment to try to make you frustrated or angry or paranoid or nervous, or, start to kind of question, what in the world is going on with me. But I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that there's nothing going on with me. I mean, God has not given me a spirit of fear, but one of power, one of love, and one of a sound mind. And I thank him for having a sound mind. I know that nothing is going on with me, and that it was absolutely just part of this evil, ungodly program. Next.